Hi, Vaseline. How are you?
Hi, hello, good evening, Danitza. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything's fine.
Great, that's good to know. That's very good to know. So let's start today's class. We have to resume our work, right? We stopped for a week because of the favor I asked you, well, I asked the management. So today, again, we have to go back to what we were doing. Okay, we're going to start that by taking a look at two lessons today. One of them is going to be, let me open it, the present perfect, and the other one I'm going to show you in a second. Okay, so this is the first thing we're going to be covering today, Danitza. I believe that now you can look at my screen and you can also see my camera. So I don't know if you have any questions before starting, Danitza. Remember that you had the time, perhaps, I don't know if you were able to work on Pearson, if you have any problems, if you had any inconveniences on it. Let me know, please, anything that you want to tell me about questions, doubts, or problems before we can start today's class. Let me know, please.
Okay, well, I think I finished the first model and person, but I'm still, I don't know, still um, have some exercises that I supposed to need to complete, but I have already uh, made made those um, exercise, and that was I don't know, something I want to tell you because I think those exercises are, I don't know why are not marked as complete.
Let's see everything. I'm going to go to Pearson. I want you to go to Pearson as well, please, to show me, all right, those details. Because if you're telling me you finished the first model, you're telling me then that you finished everything, right? All the
Ah,
assignments. That's
okay,
what you're
okay, no, no, no.
or just the
The
first unit.
first chapter,
Okay,
the
the first
first
unit, right?
unit.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
the first chapter of unit. Okay, okay, good. So, and what about that unit? Repeat that idea, please, because yes, I thought that you finished everything. That was great. But if you finished the first unit, it's good. Remember, we got to see the third class. Today is going to be the fourth class. So we are supposed to be finishing today like the second unit. Okay, today we're going to finish the second unit. But let me know, please, the specific questions that you have or inconveniences. I couldn't get that very well because, again, I thought you were talking about the entire model. So about unit one, what is the specific thing that was difficult for you to do, or what is the thing that was, well, an inconvenience? Danita, one more time, then again, please, knowing that it's going to be
Okay,
clear.
can I share my screen? Right.
Okay, yes, that's correct. Let's do it, please.
Okay. Okay. Um, can you see my screen? I think my
It's loading now. It says has started sharing your screen, but it's not there yet.
oh, sorry. I think it's my internet. Yes, that could be. Now,
Yes,
can
I
you?
can see it now very well.
Okay. But here I have this. Where is it? Okay. The first module here. Uh, mm, this, for example, one this exercise is counted as 0, but I have already made it. And in this part, I have speaking, grammar, class, pronunciation, reading, writing. Yes, here to mention submitted, but there is no score here. And
Yes, about those two.
yes,
Remember,
those quiz.
in speaking, show me that way. Yes, don't worry about the speaking, pronunciation, and in writing. Those three, because in those three you have what it is called teacher-created assignments. As I mentioned, that's not going to be there evaluated directly. That's something I am going to be evaluating here in class as I make you participate and as I also make you write the examples. Okay, that is going to be there later on, but it's going to appear later on. After everything is graded, after everything is checked, you will have those writing and speaking grades. Okay, but up to this point, again, remember that is not going to be graded. So don't worry. The speaking, again, in speaking, in pronunciation, and in writing, you're going to have something like this, but it is submitted. So don't worry. It's because I have to set a grade over there, but it's going to be not only that, it's what you're going to do in class as well. All right, that's your grade going to be getting from.
Okay, and this part, review quizzes, I think I have already done this, but I don't know if those tasks are submitted.
It's weird. Yes, if you finish that, that's actually something automatic. It should be there. Go please to review quizzes. The last one. It says write A1 review quizzes. No, that's the test, right? The test is not there yet. Or did you complete the test? Yes, I believe that that's what you did. A1 review quiz. No, there you go. Yes, you have a 100. Yes, you completed that one. It's only that one. Yes, it is not going to be in the assignment section, right? So let me mark it for you. Right, it's only going to be here. Here are going to be your scores and grades related to your test. And this is the only one that you have to pay attention to, because these the ones up there, they are separated quizzes, but you don't have separated quizzes. You only have one, and everything is inside
Oh,
that.
okay, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, those were my questions.
Okay, good. But yes, you have everything. You completed everything. Everything seems to be great. And again, you are going to see the same in a unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, a Danitza. The speaking part, the pronunciation part, and the writing part, they are going to have things like that. It's going to be like submitted because you finished and you sent that information, but those are not automatically graded. That's going to be graded when I finish evaluating your writing and speaking, as we are having these conversations in class and as I'm making you write the examples on Google Docs as well. Okay?
Okay, okay,
Very good.
that's
Great.
great.
So
I
yes, you
think
did a great job. Yeah, tell me, Danita.
by tomorrow, I think I will finish this other sections from task to review quizzes from the unit 2.
Great.
So,
That's great. That's the best thing to do. What you're doing now is great. All right. Actually, few few people do what you do, and that's what they are supposed to do because what's the logic sometimes, right? They want to do everything at last, but it's not the best idea. Now that you're doing this with me at the same time, you know that you can also have questions or doubts related to that unit. Okay, so that's the idea again, that you're practicing with me, that you are reinforcing that knowledge as you're working with me, but on Pearson, and you don't have any inconveniences. But again, you're doing great. If you finish that by tomorrow, then it means we are working at the same pace, because today we are also going to finish the second unit. All right, so we're going to be doing great. So good. I don't have actually any observations there. It's great that you're working like that. So one more time, I don't know if you have any other details before now we can start and finish the second unit. Let me know, please, Denise.
No, everything is great.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing that with me as well. Now I'm going to share my screen to start with the unit. All right. So as I am going to the presentation, actually I'm here already. This is the presentation, but Anita, please, so that I know that you have access to everything and you remember where it is, let's go to the document that we use to write our examples, please. Anita, remember everything is on Google Classroom and everything is on the section that is classwork. And over there you have to look, remember, for
Like,
classwork, all units.
okay,
Do you remember where it is?
yes, give me a minute. Yeah, unit 2, lesson 1. Okay.
It should be a general, right? It's a general folder. It's here. It's in courses information, right? Classwork, and it says all units.
Classwork outlines. Okay.
And there's
Classwork
one with your name,
outlines. Oh,
right? Do you have it?
yes.
Okay, very good. Now, remember, that's going to be there, please. That's going to remain open because we're going to go to that one. Mm, after the explanation. So, the present perfect, the indefinite past. I believe that you know about this in Anita, but we need to cover this as a lesson. So, what do you know about it? What do you know about the present perfect, the indefinite past? We mentioned this before.
Well, I can say that you can use this um, um this sentence to express something that happened in the past and still have the the situation still till the moment you are speaking. Something like that.
Good. Yes, that's a good approach. What you're saying is correct. But I ask you something there. Is it always like that? Is it always going to be like something which result we can see in the present? Or can it also be something finished in the past? What do you say?
Mm, yes, you can use this tense in that way, but when you don't mention a specific time or when your intention is not to be all give details about that the moment of the situation finished,
Okay,
and be
yes.
more generic or in general.
Yeah, correct, exactly. You know this. Okay, so you know this, you have this knowledge. I can see it, yes, and I could see it before. So yes, that's great. Indefinite past because you don't mention when it happens, because you don't want to, because you don't know, because you believe it's not important, right? Remember that the present perfect, right? The main purpose of it is talking about experience, something that you have done, and that's it, right? But you can mention other expressions. So I don't know if you remember before going to the practice, Danitza, what are some common expressions for time or expressions that you use with the present perfect?
Mm, you can use just, yet, already, mm, ever and ever.
Okay, good.
I think so.
Very good. You have that one? Yes. Never, ever, ever, mainly for some questions, right? And what is the type of question that you can ask when you use ever, Danitza? What is the idea behind using ever in a question in the present perfect with that expression?
When you use ever, you want to express, uh, usually you express to to focus once in all these times, something like that, in those whole years of this time lapse time.
Okay. Okay, yes, you can say if you use that in a question, it's like asking in your entire life, right? If something happened in your entire life, right? For example, if I ask you, have you ever gone to Brazil? How do you
No,
answer that?
no, I haven't.
No, I haven't. Exactly. Have you ever been to, I don't know, right? Have you ever been to Santa Cruz?
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have, right? Even though there's a game, right, in which you ask these type of questions, right? Have you ever, and you have to reply, right? And it's like a game. So yes, that's one of the situations, right? Like once in your entire life, have you ever done this action, or have you done this action once in your entire life? And instead of saying once in your entire life, you will say ever, right? Have you ever? So yes, you have just, yet, already, for, since. You have a number of times, right? Once, twice, three times. And you have these details that are not given, specific details about the idea that it finished or when it finished, because that's the main thing that you don't say. But you have periods of time, you have number of times, right? So good, you have this. So this is only going to be reinforcing because you have knowledge. Danita, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. So you have the simple past, right? And you know how to use the simple past. That's the review. And these are some expressions for simple past, right? Last, and go, in, on, when. So being here, and you have the information there, Danisa. What is the difference between in and on for time expressions? When do you use in and when do you use on? You can
Mm,
also mention when do you use at, if you remember.
okay, on is for a specific, very specific uh, the date, January 26. Very specific. And in, I know in my ABI is just only when you have periods of time, or periods of time could be. And thus at, I don't know, I use at with schedules or something like that. So, more reduced um, periods of time, but reduced, not specific as
All right, yes, but if I ask you this and you are going to tell me, if you have to put this in order, then it's the going from general to very specific. Which one is very general? Which one is in the middle? And which one is very specific? What do you say?
um, in general, in the middle, on, in very specific at. I don't know.
Yes. Yes, it's correct. That's the same logic for time and place. Of course, you have exceptions, right? There's always an exception or a few exceptions. But yes, that's correct. Okay, so yeah, for big references of time, for example, a year, right? You have in. If you want to be more specific, you go for days, right? Days in the week, for example, on Monday, or dates, right? As in the example here. And yeah, the specific time at 8 o'clock, for example, or when you mention a specific date, right? At Christmas, for example, if you can say at that specific time. But you say in Christmas, but again, it depends how specific you want to be, but it goes with that logic, right? Going from in finishing in at. Okay, I just wanted to mention that to be sure that that's clear. Remember that you can ask questions or you can let me know if you have thoughts about it. But the simple past, we know that. Now we are reinforcing the present perfect. You explained that very well. So we know what we have to use, right? The rule when to use have, when to use has, that's pretty clear. And the past participle of the verb when using that idea, right? And these are some expressions, and you mentioned some of them, right? Like before, once, twice, three times. You can also use no time expression. Then you have for, then you have since, then you have already, yet, just, ever. And you can also use never, of course. Okay, so we have this knowledge. I just wanted you to see this very briefly so that we remember about it. But again, I want to know if you have any questions about the knowledge that I showed you. One more time, I'm going to show you. You have the expressions. I believe that you know this, but here you have a list of them. You have the formulas, right? You know that in this tense, you always use the past participle. It's not like in simple present, right? In simple present, in negative and in questions, you don't use the simple past. You use the base form, right? But you use the simple past of the auxiliary. But here you always use past participle, right? I have given, I haven't given, have you given, right? That's just to remind you that. Then you have the rules for conjugation I, we, you, they, have, and then he, she, it, has, using the past participle once again, and the main explanation. So, and I also show you very briefly, right, the simple past, but we mentioned this also in a certain way. So, do you have any questions about all the things that this presentation is showing you? Let me know, please, because something that we can do now is actually practicing using this. So what do you say? Let me know that, Isa.
Mm, no, I think right now I don't have questions. Um, mm, well, how do you express, for example, when you, for example, want to talk about your grandmother and you're trying to tell that she traveled 3 times, for example, to Brazil, and you use past, the simple past.
It
Uh,
depends. Look, over there you have options, then it's and again, if you want to be very specific grammatically speaking, you have two options. If your grandma is still alive, all right, they are going to tell you to use the present perfect because
okay.
that's part of her experience, but it can change, right? So you can say she has been to Brazil 3 times. Okay, but it can
Mhm.
change. Perhaps next year she wants to travel, she's okay, she's alive, so she will travel once more. So it's going to be 4 times. Right, so it can change. But they say that in grammar, if you want to be very specific, the person is not here anymore. The person passed away. So you use the simple past because that's not going to change. So you say that that person, right, was in that country or traveled to that country 3 times, right? But you use the simple past because you believe that that's not going to change anymore. That happened, that finished, and there's no way that that's going to change. And also, if you want to mention when, perhaps, right? If you want to mention when, you use the simple past, and you can say that she traveled to Brazil, right, 3 times, right? Once in, I don't know, 2015, and twice in 2018, right? So if you mention that, then it is also a good idea to use the simple past. Okay, so again, those are the criteria that you can follow. If you want to mention when, or if you want to give the idea of this is not going to change anymore because there is no possible way that that person can do that again. All right, I don't know if
Okay.
you have questions about that.
No, that's clear.
Okay, so good. Again, you have always tried to be specific. And remember, if you want to be specific in terms of when it happened, simple past. If you're just mentioning an experience or describing a feeling, then the present perfect is going to be the best option. So this is going to be the practice. Again, I just want you to practice writing as much as we can. So we're going to have 5 minutes, please. Now, it's okay, 5 minutes. It means it's 9:31 more or less until 9:36, 37 perhaps. In those 5 minutes, and it's going to change now, perhaps 37 it's going to be. In those 5 minutes, please, Anitza, give me a past idea in that paragraph. Okay? Tell me about a past story. And in between that past story, you can use simple past, of course, and you can give some comments about experience in present perfect. But the idea is that you combine all of that in one paragraph. Okay, for example, you can say, last year, right, I traveled to this country. You say, period. I've been to this place many times. All right, but you don't say when. So you have a specific idea in simple past, then you give me a comment about your experience in present perfect, right? But again, that's one possibility. But you tell me like that, okay? You start telling me about that trip, about that experience, and you give me ideas in simple past. You cannot mix every time, right? Simple past, present perfect, simple past. It's not possible. Perhaps you're going to have a lot of ideas in simple past and one or two ideas in the present perfect. And that's good because we cannot force, right, combining the two of them. But the idea is that at least, okay, in that paragraph, you try to mention at least once or twice the present perfect in between all the past ideas that you have in the simple past, or you can also talk about the past perfect if you know the past perfect and the present, no, the past continuous and the past perfect if you know those tenses. But the ones that you have to use are the simple past and the present perfect. Okay, the other ones are optional. Mainly simple past again, and optionally, no, not optionally, and at least once or twice the present perfect. And of course, you have to use connectors to combine those ideas and use the punctuation or right marks and rules that we've been learning so far. So I don't know if you have questions about that to give you actually the 5 times that need. So let me know, please.
Yes, the topic is about whatever you want.
Yes, anything that comes to your mind, but it has to be a past experience. It can be a good
Mhm.
experience, bad experience, about a concert, about a trip, about going right camping, about anything that comes to your mind. But again, the only condition is that it is past, that you use the simple past most of the cases, that you use connectors, that you use punctuation marks, and that you use at least once or twice the present perfect to see how you use it with the right expressions, and that's it. All the other things that you can use over there are optional. But yes, the topic, anything that you have in mind, if it's real, it's going to be better because you can tell me about those details. If not, if it's something that you're making up, it's also good. All right?
Okay, okay.
Good. So let's do it, please. Again, I told you because I took some time explaining that. So it's going to be until 9:40. Okay, we have until 9:40, please. Anitza, you can start now, and I'm going to tell you when to stop. Try to write
Okay,
as much as you can, please.
okay.
All right, so it's time. We're going to take a look at what you got to continue working on our lesson. So I'm here with you. Let's read what you got, please, Denise.
Okay. Last January, I went to Santa Cruz with my sister. We had a nice experience with the weather and fortunately with the food. I've been in Santa Cruz around 5 or 6 times, and the people always have been kind. The motive of our travel was to see the Vincent van Gogh presentation, which which only was able there. So we spent our weekend attending that presentation and also walking around the city.
Thank you very much. Now let's take a look at the details, all right? That's always very important. And it's good, but again, it's always to take important to take these details into account. Remember that here, as this is an
Can we copy
introductory phase.
this and
Oh, yes, yes.
from please?
Yes, you
Yeah,
told me that. Yes, I told you to remind me, right? So it's very good.
this, okay, there.
Great. Very good. Thanks for reminding me because I was not going to remember. All right. So thank you. Now, the come over here. All right.
Yes. Mhm.
Why? Because it's an introductory phrase, right? Last January, I went to Santa Cruz with my sister. Yes, period. Perfect. We had a nice experience with the weather. All right. Unfortunately, with the food. Okay. I've been, when you say the verb to be in the present perfect and you mention a place, this is a very weird rule, but you don't say in, you have to say to. Okay, I've been to. You're always to a place. I've been to Cochabamba. I've been to Santa Cruz. I've been to the United States. It's weird, okay? But again, in the present perfect with the verb to be, you are to a place, not in a place, on, at, no, to. And then around 5 to 6 times. And
Mm,
now this, if you realize, this is a complete idea. I have been subject verb complement subject verb to Santa Cruz complements. Then the people always have been. That's also so you need a comma over there.
mhm.
Exactly. So comma and the people, right? Because and we can say here the people because I imagine that you're talking about the people in Santa Cruz, right? But if you say only people in general and you don't want to say people there, it's good, all right? And you don't need to use the. But again, I imagine it's to related to that specific people. So
Yes.
the people, right? The group of people always have been two kinds, all right? Mm-hmm. Um, so this again, it's up to you. This can be affirmative, this can be negative too. Sometimes has a negative connotation. But if you're talking about an affirmative
Okay.
adjective, then exactly. But it's good. It's good. But again, just to avoid any type of confusion, because it's not bad if you are too kind. But when you say this and you want to be very specific grammatically speaking, you say you are too kind actually, right? And if you say you are too kind, is like I believe that you are pretending that you are not kind, that you are faking
Yes.
that. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so it happens, right? So again, you check this. It's not bad, but it can produce some misinterpretation.
Okay.
All right, that's that one. So again, I'm going to mark this and you can say very kind or so kind. But if you use so, you have to use like a consequence, right? You are so kind, or people are so kind that we felt great, right? That we felt very
Mhm.
good. But again, options over there. Then the motive, yes, reason, motive, it's good for travel. Yes, you can say that travel, but remember, if you want to use that as a noun, it's always sometimes a good idea to use trip. Okay, it's not bad to use travel, but if you say trip instead of travel, it is going to be better in that case. And the motive or reason of our trip was to see the Vincent van Gogh presentation. Which, right, you know that one.
Yes.
Which, now, this is a specific presentation. The next idea that you have here is not obligatory. So this is what you call a restrictive adjective clause. Okay, this is an adjective clause, but you have restrictive and non-restrictive. You use comma anytime you have a definite or proper action. The Vincent Van Gogh presentation is proper, is definite. So you need a comma because the information that you have after that is optional. Okay, it's optional and extra information. Which only was able there. Okay, so we spent, now here you have two verbs. This is not going to be correct, right? We spent our weekend attendant. Now, I don't know if you wanted to say two actions, like a list of actions over here, or what was your idea using the verb attend after our weekend, Danny? So let me know, please. Is it like a
Mm,
list of actions, like we went to the museum, comma, ate some food, comma, and returned to our hotel? That's the idea that you wanted to convey, or how did you want to connect spend with attend?
mm, I want to make emphasis that the attend the presentation was uh, the principal focus, and the rest of the weekend we just walk around.
Okay, but it feels if you do that, actually here you need to make big changes. But you have another option. Look here, we have one rule that we didn't see yet. We use commas with fanboys, right? So is a fanboy, we know that. But when we have commas before and after, the rule says that instead of comma, we use semicolon. Okay, so here instead of comma, semicolon. Why? Because after this, we're also going to use a lot of commas. You're going to see. So here, only because you have commas before and you will have commas afterwards. So one option to make the next part correct, because right now it's not correct, is that you can have a list of items in the form of verbs. So we spent our weekend, but that's like incomplete. So you need to complete this with something else. All right. You have to complete something, then attendant, attended the presentation, comma, and all right. Also over there, all
Yeah,
right,
I
and
got it. I got
also
it.
walked. Uh-huh. Okay, walked around the city. Now that's one way. All right. It's not going to be perhaps because we need to complete something there. And that's why it sounds still kind of off. But this is one possibility. So you're saying, right? We spent our weekend attended that presentation and also walked around the city. And you have just one subject because that's the one subject that is doing or that did all those actions. All right. But if not, you can say another option is to say we spent our weekend there and attended that presentation, right? And then you say period. Besides, we walked around the city and blah 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 blah. Okay, but you need those ways. You need one of those ways because if you connect that directly and in past, it's not going to be good. Now, the other option is the suggestion that they were giving us. You don't use the past form, you use the gerund form. So you can say, we spent our weekend attending that presentation. But I don't know if you spend your entire weekend just attending that presentation, right? If that's not the case, so attending is not also going to be, or either going to be, your best option over here. And perhaps you can remain like this. But if you want to use this option, you need to say something over here because attending the presentation is going to be like another action. Or again, the last option is that you say, so we attended that presentation and walked around the city. And that's how we spent our weekend. So spending the weekend is going to be at the end as the result of those actions that you mentioned. Okay, so you have three or four options, but in all of those options, you need to organize these verbs in a different way. If not, again, something is going to be missing or something is going to be off. And that's it. I don't know now if you have any questions, comments, or anything. Let me know, please, Danitza.
No, it's clear. Identify verbs and try to make how can I say it? Oración. Forgot.
Yeah,
Um,
a sentence, statement.
a statement exactly gives more order to the paragraph, so you don't have incomplete ideas. Yes.
Yeah, good. Uh-huh. Good. There you go. Right? Remember, you always have a lot of options, right? It's always up to you. You're the one that decides how you want to organize this. But if you decide one of those ways, you have to follow the rules so that you don't have any mistakes there. Okay, so great. This was the first part. We finished. We only have 9 minutes, okay, this time because I have another student now at 10. Okay, so we're going to be finishing this time at 10. So to finish, I just want to show a very simple thing because this is just to remember, and it is models of advice. Okay, so this is going to be short. But let me ask you then, Danitza, what do you know or what do you remember about models of advice?
Um, I think there are three models. Like you should, you ought to, and you, I don't know, should, must. I think there are three or four, and they have different degrees.
Correct. Here we're going to take a look at three. One of them is, yes, it's like a suggestion, a piece of advice, but it has like a consequence, all right? Must isn't going to be in this group, at least according to Pearson, because more than a piece of advice is like obligation, right? But we have should, we have ought to, and we have one more that is this one over here. Actually, they are not showing. Why? Okay, this one. Had better. All right, but let's take a look at them. Now, we have to remember, right, that we use models in many situations. So take a look at these models, please, Danitza, and tell me when you use each of them. So what do you say? Read one and tell me when do you use it and what's the purpose. For example, can, we use can for this, could, we use the could for this, and also for this, may for this, might for this, and that. All right, so what you remember, what can you tell me about all these models briefly?
Okay. Can you can use to ability, could ability, but in the past, usually, may and might you use them when you have like 50% of um, grade of certainty, will and would, I don't know. Should auto I think is more polite when someone doesn't ask for your advice, but you really want to be nice, so you spend your give your advice. Show is like when you want to show or contrast the situation of what could happen if you done something. And most when you really want to express more urgent or some grade of urgency about something. You
All right.
would I mean is polite.
What is also, yes, it is also polite. That's correct. I would add some things that I would add or change. Here, yes, could is the past of, okay, 5 minutes. So could is the past of can, correct. But what is the other usage? Remember that could is also for future or present possibility, right? So could is past ability and also future and present possibility. And actually, I don't know, it depends on the books that you have, Danita, because it changes, all right? But some books are going to say that actually could is 50% for possibility, and may and might are only going to be 25 to 30%. It means you have to be very unsure to use may and might. But if you are 50-50 because you have possibilities and you have alternatives, so I could travel this week or next week. So 50-50, right?
Oh,
But
I
if you
think
say
it's closer
may,
50.
yes. But again, check because there are many, many universities and they have their own theories. Harvard has their rules for English, Cambridge has their rules for English, Michigan has their rules for English. So this is going to change. And remember, it's not like that, right? When we say 50%, 30%, it's not like real, right? Because you cannot say, yes, I'm 30% sure, so may, right? No, it's up to you. But I can say this, okay? Percentage, if you want percentage, 50% good and 25 to 30% may and might. Okay, but in other words, without using percentage, you can say if you have options, definite options, could. Okay, I could do this or I could do that. But if you don't have options, or if you have a lot of options, or if you don't know and you are very unsure, you say may, right? I may do it or not. I don't know. So that's the only thing that I would change over there, right? When you're very unsure, may or might. We don't remember, right? It's easy will for future, but also will can be for promises, will can be for refusal, will can be for exactly for asking, for requests, very polite requests sometimes, or informal requests actually, would for condition, right? Conditionals, even would can be for past habits. Okay, it has a lot of usages, but not very common perhaps. Should and ought to, we know that, right? That's for recommendations or advice. And must, you said, right? Urgency. So you're talking about obligation or something that you feel that is necessary, but a very strong necessity. So I don't know if you have any questions about those details, and let me know, please. Again, the idea here, we're not covering all of them, only should and ought to. The other ones are only to remember or to refresh our minds. So do you have any questions or comments about that? Let me know, please.
Yes, I would really like to next class review will and would, because I think I don't have these applications to clear. My mind should automatic, I think, are more easy to manage. But
Yes,
will and would, I think so. I don't know.
we can take a look at them. They are very, wood. Wood is special, and that it's a wood. Will, I know you're going to see the example, you're going to remember. Will is very, very easy to get, but it has also some interesting ways of using it. Okay, you can use will in 4 or 5 situations. Would mainly in 2 or 3, no more than that. Okay, 2 or 3. But yes, remind me, please. On Wednesday, then we're going to take a look at will because actually one of our lessons is going to be future. So we're going to take a look at will, but also would. But as with example with the paragraph, right? Please remind me so that we can take a look at that. Okay,
Okay.
good. Now, in terms to finish today, because we can still finish this in the next class, remember the only things we have to take a look at that now in this lesson are should. Should for recommendations and advice. It hasn't changed. It has to be affirmative or negative. We know that. It can be also a question. Ought to is the same, but remember, in American English and in modern English, this is disappearing. So it's not as common. It's also for recommendations and advice, but mainly for affirmative sentences. Negative
Mhm.
is not going to be as common anymore. Questions neither. And have had better is advice, but more than advice is like warning. Okay, it's a mix between advice and a warning. So you had better or you'd better do this, or there's going to be a consequence, right? So I just want you to do one thing now to finish the class, and it's only speaking. Then it's give me please only just one example of each. One example using should, one using ought to, and one using had better, taking these considerations into account. So what do you say? What examples can you give me? Just speaking now.
Uh, you should ask for help. I don't know. And the other was
Ought to, uh-huh.
how to you ought to um, find a way to make better compositions. I don't know.
Yes, that's possible, correct. And the last one we had better.
Um, she had better improve their knowledge of grammatical structure.
Okay, her, right? Her knowledge.
Knowledge.
Okay. Or what's going to be the consequence? It's always a good idea to mention the consequence we had
Or she will fail the course.
there. Okay, good. Yes, it is correct. All right, good. You know this, all right? You know this. You have a lot of knowledge in this case. Then it's for you, it's just remembering, for you, it's just reinforcing. And again, that's why what I want you to do is practicing more with writing. And in other situations, I'm also going to give you speaking practices. All right. Now, again, they just gave me this week. I'm starting a new course also at 10. That's why this time and in this, starting this week and the next weeks, I have to be finishing, all right, at 10. I cannot stay as I was doing in the previous week. So I don't know if you have any questions to finish. As I'm finishing the class with you, I'm sending today two polls, please, Danitza. This is the first poll for the class, only for today's class. And I'm going to show you one more after you complete this. That is going to be the poll for the first four classes. Because remember, the first four classes means that we are halfway our first course, right? Each course has 8 classes, so we are halfway there. It means that we have another survey, just 2 questions, even shorter, that you can see now. It's how satisfied you need and you feel actually sorry up to this point. Okay, you complete that and that's it. If you have questions, please let me know. If not, we'll see each other on Wednesday to cover the rest of the lessons and to keep working together. All right?
Everything's fine, thank you.
Okay,
I am
that's
also
good.
a little tired, so that's okay.
All right, don't worry. I'm tired too, but I have to be one more hour here. Okay, so I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay, have a good night and see you then.
Have a good night too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.